Hello, everyone. I'm Danny Valdez, and you have made it to the live signing of Robby Krieger's brand new and first ever memoir entitled Set the Night on Fire, Living, Dying, and Playing Guitar with the Doors. Robby, I'm looking forward to this. How are you today?
I'm good. Again, I'm ready.
Yeah. Now, are we in your, looks like your kitchen?
Yeah.
I like that fantastic hardwood floor pattern.
Yeah, that's, what is that called? I don't know. It's a European thing.
I want to say croquet, but I know that's wrong. Parquet? I don't know.
No, it's not parquet. It's
basket weave?
No, it's crisscross and God, there's a word for it, but I can't remember.
Yeah, somebody's screaming it. Some carpenter right now is screaming it at the top of his lungs. Well, for the next hour, Robby is going to be signing books and answering as many of your questions as possible. A lot of you have actually been writing already. You've been waiting and tuned in, and you're wondering how to purchase the book. You actually still have time to order an autographed copy of this really special looking book filled with a lot of great stories, as I've already dipped into it. You just got to go to premiercollectibles.com/fire to order your copy. Now, after all these years, why did you write this book and why now?
Well, you know, I actually started writing it like 20 years ago or more. And at that point, you know, John had written a book and Ray had written a book, and it caused a lot of problems because they kind of put each other down in their books. And, you know, after that, we had this lawsuit about Ray and I playing As the Doors. John didn't want to go. So I just thought, well, you know what? I'm just going to wait and until this kind of dies down, all this craziness. And I just never really got around to finishing it. And then, of course, the pandemic came along, and wow, I've got time. I've got nothing to do here. Yes. So that seemed like the good time to finish it.
Yeah. There's a lot of fantastic stories. I mean, if anyone is a fan of the Doors, I feel like this is the book to have. You talk about Jim wrestling with Janis Joplin. Do you mind expounding on that here?
Well, you know, the two of them, I think, had a number of encounters that didn't end well. But I mean, the first time, you know, they got together and they ended up back at her place, and in the middle of the night, they hear somebody coming up the stairs, and Janis goes, "Oh shit, Jim, get out of here! It's Frank. It's Frank." He goes, "Who's Frank?" "It's Freewheeling Frank, man. He's like the head of the Hells Angels, man. He's my old man, my old man." So he's lucky to get out of there alive. And then years later, we were having a party somewhere and in the valley, and Jim was there, and he was a little toasted, and up drives Janis in the car. She was in the passenger seat, and Jim runs over to help her out, and somehow he grabbed her and tried to pull her out through the window or something like that. And so she grabbed his hair, and they were going at it, man. It was crazy.
Oh, wow. So I mean, it's a really thick book. I mean, you've written a lot. I know there's a lot of stories in here, but out of everything,
100 pages were edited out.
Really?
Yeah.
And why?
Oh, they just wanted to keep it below a certain number of pages. I think 400.
Do you feel like you could have written even more than you did write?
Well, I did. They edited it out.
Yeah, okay.
I'll get that part out one of these days. You know, I'll have an addendum.
Yeah, a little special feature that you can get in addition to maybe next Christmas. Well, if everything you did write, what do you hope is the biggest takeaway people get from reading this book?
Well, I just hope they, you know, I tried to tell the real story of the Doors. You know, not putting down the movie or the other books or anything, but there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Yeah.
And, I just wanted to get my side of the story about how everything went down. And hopefully that will clarify some things.
Yeah. And I want to jump. There's so many people who've written in, I mean, hundreds and hundreds of questions that people wrote in. In fact, when you buy this book at premiercollectibles.com, you can actually write in a question to Robby. And if we have time, we'll take it here live. But I hope you could entertain a personal question. Whenever I hear the music of the Doors, I have almost like a magical haunting, if you will, feeling. There's something mystical about the music, and I don't know why. And have you? Do you know why that is? Was that intentional? Did you guys? Is it the organ? What is it?
It was nothing intentional. It was just the four of us coming from such diverse backgrounds, I think. And then when we came together, it was pretty amazing what happened. It was like the sound was so different than anything else that had come out before. And I don't know. It's hard to put your finger on it, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I almost get the sense that you guys weren't trying. Like it. So many. In fact,
we weren't saying, "Hey, let's try to be weird" and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's just how we were.
Yeah. Well, so many questions have come in. Are you ready to jump to a lot of these fan questions from people who bought the book?
Sure.
Great. Let's go from Paul to Paul from Dublin, Ireland. I won't read this in an Irish accent. Hi, Robby. When sitting on the porch with a glass of red and the headphones on, what's coming through the speakers these days?
What's coming through the speakers? That's a good question. I'm a jazz head pretty much, and I still like Indian music. I've got Indian Ravi Shankar stuff in my car radio, and blues, old blues. I'm just about to do a video with Richie Sambora about Robert Johnson. He's doing this video. He's got a bunch of people on it, but that's going to be pretty cool.
And you've got a jazz band you're currently touring with, or maybe that's on hold now with COVID. But
yeah, we do stuff around LA, but so far I haven't really gone out with it. But it's pretty cool. It's called The New Experience.
Oh, nice. Okay, The New Experience. That's the name of the jazz band.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got some cool guys in it. One guy, the bass player, Kevin Brandon, played with Aretha for like 20 years.
Oh, wow.
He's an amazing bass player. And the drummer is actually Lenny Kravitz's drummer.
Okay.
Franklin Vanderbilt. And then the keyboard guy is Ed Roth, who played with Annie Lennox, among others. And so it's pretty fun.
Douglas from Toronto, Ontario, Canada writes, what's the craziest thing that happened on the road with the Doors and Janis Joplin?
Well, okay, is that two questions?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe what's the craziest thing that happened on the road with the Doors, for starters?
The craziest. I mean, there's so many crazy things, you'd have to say it was a toss-up between the Miami show and the New Haven show. But there was other shows too that were just as nuts, like Michigan State. We played at Michigan State College one time, and that was so crazy. It was, we were driving to the gig, and all of a sudden I spot this ice cream store. I said, "Hey, let's stop and get some ice cream," And John and Ray go, "Yeah, that's cool. Let's do that." Jim was not an ice cream fan. I didn't know at the time, but he's got something against ice cream. He says, "All right, you guys go on. I'll just go to that bar across the street." And he got wasted, man. I don't know why he was so crazy about this ice cream thing. So we get to the show and get on stage, and Jim is just so messed up. We started break on through or something, and he just kind of sat there and didn't do nothing, and he wanted to sing blues all night. So, yeah. And this is this crowd of young kids, and we were hoping they would. We didn't even know if they knew our songs. I mean, they must have, because there was a lot of kids there. And so it turned out that after about 3 trial songs like that, where Jim just didn't come in right, John and I just got up and left the stage, and Ray stayed up there like a trooper and tried to play some guitar and do the blues with Jim. But pretty soon people were booing, and it was crazy. And one thing that came out of that was there was one guy there whose whole career was kind of affected by that night, and that was Iggy Pop was there. And he thought it was the coolest thing he'd ever seen.
Yeah, the audience is booing, but the other bands around are like, "This is epic. This is the stuff of rock legend."
He wasn't Iggy Pop yet. He was just going to school there. And
wow, okay.
After that, he formed this band, and that was the reason he got into music.
Whoa. Oh, that's so cool to hear. Well, this is a great follow-up question to that. Wayne from Bristol, Tennessee. Did you ever get sick enough of Jim's shenanigans to consider quitting?
I never did. I just took it in stride. I thought, well, hey, this is how rock and roll is, and that's how it is. And I'm doing an interview. My dog just pooped on the floor.
Do you need
put a piece of paper over it?
Do you need to handle that?
Could I take 1 second?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hang on.
Absolutely. The time I interviewed Robby Krieger, and he had to go take care of family business mid-interview. I'll remember this one. Maybe I'll start a band. Maybe this will be what inspires me to start my band. Oh, look at the little dog.
Yeah,
Bring him in. Bring him in.
That's Uma.
Hey, Uma.
I got to take her outside before she poops again.
Do it, brother. We are hanging here. And I like those pajamas as well. Maybe I should read from the back cover of the book while we wait. It's like thousands of you guys watching right now. This is fantastic. In his first ever book, legendary Doors guitarist Robby Krieger, one of Rolling Stone's 100 greatest guitarists of all time, opens up about the Doors' meteoric career, his own darkest moments, and the most famous black eye in rock and roll. Welcome back to the show, Mr. Robby Krieger, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for that. That was fun. I want to go to Scott in Illinois. How old were you when you began playing guitar?
I was about 14, maybe 15. I wish I'd started earlier, like a lot of guys did, but maybe it would have been. It would have turned out different, and I never would have been in the Doors. Who knows?
Yeah. And but I mean, you're playing jazz. I've always felt very intimidated by jazz. I'm a drummer, but I've never played jazz.
Well, it's I hadn't played jazz either at that point, but I was into jazz. John Densmore was in the jazz band at Uni High, where I was his buddy at Uni High.
Oh yeah.
And we would go see all these jazz guys, play, like Wes Montgomery and all the horn players, Freddie Hubbard, stuff like that. And I said, man, I could never play that stuff, but it sounds cool,
Yeah.
So little by little, I just after the Doors, I kind of got more into jazz. I made some buddies that were jazz guys, and it really, it's real challenging, but it really makes you a much better musician.
Mm. Rick from British Columbia, Canada. Hello, and thanks for taking my question. Were the Doors invited to Woodstock?
I believe we were, but Ray Manzarek, this is his fault. He says, "You kidding? Woodstock? Nobody's going to go up there. That's so far away from New York City. You know, that's going to be a bust.
A waste of time to go play at some country festival."
So I always pissed at Ray for that.
Yeah. David from O'Fallon, Missouri writes, "What is your musical education background, and can you read music?"
I can barely read music. I learned a little bit when I took trumpet back before I was just guitar. But I'm not a reader. I don't claim to be. I wish I could. But sometimes I think that maybe if I had learned to read music, I wouldn't have written those songs, because, you know, once you get to the level of reading and stuff, sometimes you're too sophisticated to write a song, a rock and roll song, especially, which most of them are pretty damn simple.
Yeah.
Maybe I would have been, you know, who knows? I might have never written a song.
It's actually a great insight. You can overtrain to where you're no longer relevant, huh?
I guess. I mean, I hate to talk people out of learning to read. It all depends on what you want to do. If you want to be, I mean, if you're a horn player, you got to read music, you know.
Sure.
And keyboard too.
Yeah.
But guitar players, we can be lazy and get away with
it. Love Peter's question from the United Kingdom. In another lifetime, if you could have joined any other band of your choice, who would you choose?
Wow, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Maybe Them. You know, when Jim Morrison started out, he had a group called Them, and Jimmy Page actually played rhythm guitar on that first album.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jessica from Westbury, New York asks, if you didn't become a musician, what would you be doing right now?
Oh boy, who knows? I think some kind of artistic stuff. I mean, I paint as well, so maybe I would have been a painter. My dad was a rocket scientist kind of guy.
Oh wow.
So he always made me take math and physics and stuff like that, but I didn't really like it that much, you know.
Did you do okay at math?
Yeah, I was okay, but nothing, you know. I wasn't the A student.
My wires just crossed when I looked at letters and involved in numbers. I couldn't get it.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Scott from Eureka, Missouri, you are known for playing a Gibson SG. What is it about that guitar that made you want to play it particularly?
Well, one day I went and saw Chuck Berry play, and he had this red guitar. I think it was a 335, and I said, I got to get one like that, you know, because before that I never had an electric guitar, and I was about probably 17 years old by that time, maybe even older, because I'd played flamenco and I played folk music, you know, and I just I didn't really, I wasn't into rock and roll at that. You know, I liked it, but I never thought of myself playing it. I was like a folk guy, Bob Dylan, you know. I used to play the harmonica holder and do Dylan songs. But I don't know, what was the question?
You said, what is it about that guitar that made you want to play it particularly? So
I saw him play this red guitar. That's all I knew. I didn't know what kind it was. So the next day I went down to Ace Loans, which was the place where you went to get used guitars back then. And I saw this SG. You know, the 335 like Chuck's was too expensive, so I got this SG, and I thought it was pretty cool, you know. And then one day I took acid, and I was playing the guitar, and I go, wow, this thing, it looks like the devil. it really looked like a devil because it had horns.
Yeah.
And then I was hooked.
So the short answer is acid.
Yeah.
There you go, Scott from Eureka, Missouri. Artem from the Republic of Karelia, Russian Federation. Never heard of that. I've heard of the Russian Federation, but the Republic of Karelia, that's really cool. What is better to learn to play first, a bass or an electric guitar?
Well, it depends on what your interest is, you know. Wouldn't hurt to start with bass because, you know, that shows you it's got only 4 strings and it's a little bit simpler than guitar. And a lot of guitar players that I know started on bass.
Yeah.
So it's probably not a bad idea.
Yeah, I believe in that cross training too. I actually got really a lot better as a drummer when I tried to play bass and have a drummer next to me, because I saw how ridiculous and obnoxious all of his special little things were when we're just trying to keep a groove, you know, and it helped me go back to the drums. So I believe in cross training for sure. Byron from San Bernardino, California asks, the Doors are considered to be one of the greatest bands of all time. What was the greatest concert you ever saw?
Ever saw?
Ever saw, yeah.
Yeah, ever saw. Greatest concert I ever saw. It wasn't a big concert. It was at the Whiskey A Go-Go. And there was 2 of them. There was Jimi Hendrix at the Whiskey. First time he came to LA. That was amazing.
Yeah.
And then the Cream played at the Whiskey as well.
Okay.
Pretty
I just met the drummer for Cream down at Whole Foods here in Nashville.
Really?
I don't remember his name. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was,
what is his name? Shit.
and maybe they had several drummers. Maybe he was one of them. I don't know. But he had a pizza line. That's why he was there.
Well, Ginger Baker, I thought was passed on. Are you sure it was him?
It was someone that played, yeah, and he could have been a backup drummer, could have been for only a couple of years, but he had pictures. I mean, it was crazy. I was like, what are you doing selling pizza? He's like, it's my new company. It's what I'm doing now.
How old was he?
Oh, he was pretty old.
Did he have an English accent?
No.
That wasn't Ginger then. Ginger Baker was the only drummer from Cream, believe me.
Oh, well, maybe, okay. Well, I think his pizza line's still there. I'm going to go track him down and say, hey, yeah, that works.
Baker says you're not the real guy.
I'm going to say that works on people who don't interview Robby Krieger. They wanted to take a moment and just remind everyone, this is actually a special edition book it's really autographed by Robby. You know, some places will do a rolled stamp, but Robby, didn't you share, what was it, 15,000 and still counting? You've actually signed yourself?
Yeah, I'm still autographing books, believe me. Sorry about that.
All right. Do you need to take that?
No.
You'll actually, you know, be able to buy this book at other distributors, but it won't be autographed. So if this would make a great addition to your collection or a great gift for a passionate friend, just pull up another browser window and head to premiercollectibles.com/fire before they're sold out. Let's keep taking questions though, because there are so many.
My hand is sore from autographing some.
Yeah.
Hang on one sec.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm just going to take this off the hook.
Well, if it's one of your bandmates, we'll just bring him into the interview.
No, it's probably a robocall.
You touched on this just a bit ago, but Russell from Australia asks, hi, Robby, how accurate did you think the Oliver Stone film on the Doors was, and what is your opinion of it?
Well, as far as accurate, it was not. How did that happen? I took it off the hook. Hang on one second.
No worries.
Oh, yeah. I'm doing an interview. All right, I got it.
I would sing Light My Fire for you guys, but it's not going to do it justice.
I was the plumber. I have to open the gate.
Okay. We'll see you in a minute. Oh, I love it. Hey, and thank you guys all for watching and tuning in. This is fantastic. These are my favorite types of interviews right here. I couldn't script this. This is beautiful.
That was fun.
All right. So Alfred from New York, he writes, are there any current bands that remind you of your music?
Greta Van Fleet.
Mm.
Have you heard those guys?
I've heard of Greta Van Fleet, and I've actually never listened, but I have so many people that have said you've got to look them up. Like I'll describe some band or something I'm into, and they're like, well, then you love Greta Van Fleet, and I'm like, never heard of them. Well, I've heard of them now.
Really good. The singer sings. People say he sounds like Robert Plant, but he just got his own thing, and they're really into the Doors. I know that because I met them and played with them one time.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, they're really cool.
Greta Van Fleet. I'm looking them up now. Robin from Greeley, Colorado. I'm just old enough to listen to your music riding the school bus in the 60s. Do you have any idea at the time people would still be talking about and enjoying your music over 50 years later?
I had no idea. No idea. You know, when we were, after Jim passed away, and John and Ray and I did a couple more albums together, but after that, I figured nobody's going to care about the Doors anymore. You know, it's over. You know,
Sure.
they didn't have internet or anything like that back then.
Yeah.
But you know, this was the 70s.
Yeah.
But you know, somehow the music kept coming through, and what happened is they started to spring up all these Doors tribute bands. You know, there must have been, you know, 10 of them in just around California.
Wow.
I think that really kind of kept the music in people's minds. And then, of course, the movie came out and all that stuff happened. So I don't know.
Well, what I think is incredible is, you know, in the book you talk about how you guys you were turning down commercials. You know, all the things. I mean, one of these commercials I think you wrote was 15 million. You guys talked as a band, and you felt like, no, we're not into the commercialism of our music. And anyone today would think that would be insane. I mean, you mean Audi or I forget who it was, Buick or whoever you mean you're offering us 15 million for our music? Of course they wouldn't turn it down.
Cadillac. Well, yeah, I mean, I think we were just stupid because right after that, Led Zeppelin did the commercial.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But yeah.
Hell with purism.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad we never did that because it kind of sets us apart from a lot of it. I mean, Bob Dylan's doing commercials, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So
I think what happened was back in the day, Buick had a little Opel car coming out, and they wanted to use Light My Fire for that. And John and Ray and I said, "Oh, that's kind of cool, you know. That it's a brand new car. It doesn't use a lot of gas. It's kind of economic, and you know, let's do it, you know." And we got to get a hold of Jim and tell him, you know. We couldn't find him for like a week or 2 weeks, you know. So we said, all right, let's just do it. Okay. So of course, then Jim comes back and he finds out that we did this, and he's all pissed. He's just, wow. I said, Jim, it's my song. Why are you so mad? You know, we never should have done that. And if they do that, I'm gonna go on TV and burn one of those cars up. So ever since then, we never did a commercial.
But that commercial aired? Did that one actually go through?
I don't think so. I think Jim got to them before they could put it out.
Jim got to him. Karen has a great question from Louisiana. What did you learn about yourself while writing this book?
Gee, that's a good question. I kind of, found out that I'm lazy. I never would have finished this book without this guy, Jeff Alulis, who's my co-author in the book.
Yeah.
Because I tried, I tried writing this book. I started like 25 years ago, and I just kept, add a little bit. And I pretty much had the whole outline of it done.
Wow.
But then I don't know, I just couldn't seem to get around to it. And it took somebody to push me, to do it. So I'm from now on, I'm not going to be so lazy.
I get that. I mean, I start to get exhausted halfway through a power email where I'm just like, oh, did I explain myself? Can anyone else understand what I'm saying? And let me take a break. Let me go grab a coffee. Daniel from Boston, Massachusetts. What musician has been your biggest inspiration as a guitar player?
Wow, that's a good one.
Or several.
Might be Michael Bloomfield. You know who he is?
No.
He was the guitar player in the Paul Butterfield band.
Okay.
And to me, he was the first guy that really fused blues and rock.
Okay.
So electric, he had the electric guitar, and it was like, and it wasn't just strummy. It was like he was doing some crazy stuff.
Some shuffling, you mean?
Yeah, if you haven't heard it, go back and listen to Paul Butterfield Blues Band.
Okay. So I'm going to look up Greta Van Fleet,
by the way, was
Paul Butterfield.
Produced by Paul Rothschild, who produced all the Doors albums.
Okay. John from Crystal Lake, Illinois. Hi, Robby. Are you and John still close and sometimes play together?
We do. We just played at my studio a couple of weeks ago, and we did "L.A. Woman" and a couple other songs and it's going to be coming. I don't know if you've heard, but the Doors at Hollywood Bowl. We made a film out of it now, and it's going to be coming to a theater near you just for one day. It's going to be all over the world, and I think it's November 3rd, maybe.
Of this year?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
John and I did this little rendition of "L.A. Woman" with a guy, with the son of Jerry Sheff, who played bass on the album. So it's pretty cool. And so they're going to show that right before the Hollywood Bowl. But anyway, John is, I just got an email from him, and he saw one of my interviews about the book, and he goes, "I didn't do that." And he got all pissed. So I'm going to have to go make up with him again.
I love a lot of these questions. You can tell these are from true fans. Simon from Wales, Australia. The Doors continued as a trio after Jim died. Were there any thoughts about bringing in a new lead singer? And if so, who was considered?
We did think about that, and there was talk about Iggy Pop, and I was thinking Paul would be perfect, because he plays bass. McCartney. But never got around to asking him.
Now, Jim, he didn't play an instrument, did he?
No, he didn't, unfortunately. That would have been great if he played bass, but
yeah. And just because I don't know, when Jim passed away, did the Doors continue playing shows? What happened in those next 2 years, I guess, when it came to your music and direction?
Well, when Jim left for Paris, we continued to, get together, play, write songs and stuff. And so it ended up that we used those songs on our album, Other Voices, which came out the next year after Jim passed. And, it was just Ray and I singing, which was, not too great, but, people seemed to like it.
Yeah.
And then we did one other album after that, Full Circle. But, it was not, without Jim, the Doors is really not the Doors. But we did go to Europe, and we were thinking of looking up for singers, I can't remember who all we tried out, but it just didn't work out. It was mostly because the three of us were kind of going our own ways and we couldn't get along anymore.
Mm,
I mean,
yeah.
It wasn't because we couldn't find a right singer. It never got to that point of even trying anybody out.
Well, and I've never heard anyone sing like him. I mean, you go on American Idol, you hear it, some of them are almost copying or doing an impersonation of a big power pop singer, right? And they all sound the same, even the males and females. But man, his voice, it wasn't this monster pop, American Idol winner voice. It was just this real, authentic, like I almost feel like I know what he would talk like if I heard him talk. He was singing. It was like a soul voice.
Well, he for a guy who never took a vocal lesson or anything like that, he probably had the best voice I've ever heard. I swear to God. I've had
man.
people that have come up and sang Doors songs, John Doe and who was great, by the way. Val Kilmer did really good.
Oh,
yeah, we never did answer that question about the movie. I thought Val Kilmer was amazing in that movie. Should have gotten an Academy Award, He sang like 90% of the songs in that movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
well, he's brilliant.
He is. I mean,
brilliant actor.
I met him he says, "Hey, I got the job. I'm going to play Jim." I couldn't believe it. He looked nothing like Jim, talked nothing like him. But once he got into the character,
he became Jim, huh?
Calling him Jim,
Wow.
It's crazy.
I need to go back and visit that movie. What was it? Tombstone? Was that the cowboy movie he was in?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
He played the sick doc or something.
Doc Holliday.
Oh, so brilliant. I mean, just that through the whole movie, he's just like he's coughing up a lung, and you're like, man, that guy is sick. I mean, he's I don't know where he went, but he's brilliant.
Unfortunately, he's sick now. He's got the throat cancer, I think, and he's like a Christian Scientist, so he won't do any treatment for it. There's a
wow.
documentary on him right now. It's pretty cool.
Okay, wow, that's fascinating. Chris from Brighton, Michigan. What was your favorite recollection that came up when writing the book?
My favorite recollection. I think it was just talking about when Jim and I wrote a bunch of the songs. My parents had gone out of town for about a month, and so I had Jim at my house for that time, and we just became very close. During that time when we wrote some great stuff, and I just always remember that.
Yeah, that's so cool.
My favorite part with Jim.
Declan from Ireland. What was your favorite song to play live with the Doors?
Well, it was either Light My Fire or The End. Both had a lot of guitar in them and stuff, and I get to play my Indian kind of Ravi Shankar stuff.
Okay.
I went to UCLA and I went to Indian music class, and that really got me into the East Indian music. It was amazing. At UCLA, they had this huge room, and it was just filled with all these amazing sitars and Indian instruments.
Yeah.
I just hung out there all the time.
Do you think maybe that is part of the haunting sound or the unique thing does that have anything to do with it? The Indian influence?
Yeah, definitely. That's a big influence. And actually, John and I both went to the Kinara school, that Ravi Shankar's Indian music school in LA, which was really pretty neat.
That's really cool. A pal from Norway, he asked, did you meet Jimi Hendrix or Frank Zappa?
Yes, met them both. I knew Zappa pretty well because, we lived near each other in Laurel Canyon. And Jimmy, I only met once, but it was pretty cool. I got to sit next to him on the airplane going from New York to England.
Wow.
We were both on the same show, the Isle of Wight festival.
Oh, yes. That's on YouTube.
Yeah, you can check it out. And
Wow, that's
it
cool.
was actually, I think they put out the whole thing on a video disc or whatever.
Was Jimmy super talkative on the plane, or was he more like chill?
He was pretty chill, and I was too cool to really, ask him about what kind of strings he used and all that stuff. But
Tyler,
you can read about it in the book.
yeah.
There's some surprising things in there about what we talked about.
Okay. Tyler from Illinois, what is your most treasured guitar?
Wow. Well, the one I use all the time is a 67 SG that, I've been using for a long time. My original guitar SG that I used on the first 2 albums got stolen.
Oh,
Yeah, but in doing this book, we actually, Jeff, my co-writer guy, he got to be friends with all these Doors crazy nerds kind of guys that know everything about the Doors. And this one guy found the serial number of that guitar. So now we're going to be doing a big search for this guitar. And I hope I get it back. Boy,
the lost guitar.
yeah, I mean, it was just a cheap guitar, but I played the first 2 albums with that. I wrote Light My Fire on that guitar.
Right. Well, we got to assume it exists, right? I mean,
oh, I'm sure it does. Whoever has it probably doesn't know it.
you may not even know it's your guitar. Hey, if you're listening, thousands of people out there listening, and you have this mystery guitar that grandma left in her attic, you need to head over to livesigning.com and click the email button.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll trade them another guitar for it.
Hey, there's a deal. Make it happen, people.
It's one of my new, I've got a new model coming out on Gibson next year. So we'll hope.
It's a signature series like your guitar?
Yeah, and it's going to be hand painted by me, the first 30 or 40 of them.
Wow, very cool. What, and is it called an SG?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's an exact copy of my 67 SG that we were just talking.
Deanna from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma asks, what album by the Doors do you feel fully encapsulates the feeling or vibe that you were all trying to convey at the time?
Well, the first album, we'd been playing those songs every night, like at the Whiskey and places like that for about a year, So, those were our first songs and our, still some of my favorites today. So that's pretty hard to beat. But for me, LA Woman was really fun because that was a lot of those songs were done just kind of jamming in the studio. And so it was more of a group effort. Usually either Jim would write the song or I would write the song, or Jim and I would collaborate, and then the other guys would help flesh it out, to arrange it and all that. But on LA Woman, we all kind of were involved right from the get-go, Like we were playing Ghost Riders in the Sky. It's like a surf kind of song, right? Just messing around, and somehow it became Riders on the Storm.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Jim just came up with the idea of those words just on the spot, and we, I still have that surf guitar kind of sound, echoey guitar sound, and Ray came up with the most amazing piano solo in rock history, I think.
Wow. And now the Doors name, that came from a poem or what? I can't remember what that was. I just found this out.
Yeah, it was a William Blake poem. And what happened was who was it?
Oh, it was a book by Aldous Huxley.
Yeah, Aldous.
That's what it was.
Aldous Huxley had obviously read the poem that Blake's had written, which said that if the doors of perception were cleansed, you would see the world as it truly is, infinite. Okay, so Jim had obviously read that, or maybe he just read it in the Aldous Huxley book, because that book was all about him taking psilocybin and mushrooms.
Oh, it was.
Oh yeah.
The Aldous Huxley book was.
Yeah, that's a good read.
And what the name of it again?
Aldous Huxley book. What was it called? Doors of Perception.
The Doors of Perception. Wow. That, you wonder how band names come about, right? Like the Doors, like that could have been the Gates. That could have been, what could they have, like I've got somebody.
I didn't like it at first. I said, John had just gotten into the Doors and
yeah,
we got this group and we want you to come down and try out. What's the name of the Doors? That's a dumb name, I mean, the Beatles, that's at least pretty cool, but the Doors, it just sounds like it sounds like a joke.
Sure.
But then once Jim explained to me, Aldous Huxley and the whole thing.
It's actually really deep.
Yeah.
Wow.
If we'd been called the Windows or something else, maybe we would have been a lot bigger. Who knows? Or maybe not.
I think there's something in the simplicity, actually.
Yeah, I think so.
Fabrice from Montreal, Canada. Dear Robby, thanks for your music. Carlos Santana said that one of his favorite guitar solos of all time is the one from Light My Fire. Did you ever meet Carlos? And if so, did he talk to you about your solo?
We did. Yeah, we've hung out a couple of times, and I even saw him the other day on the big interview with Dan Rather.
Okay.
You know about that?
No.
Well, Dan Rather is now interviewing rock stars. Okay.
Okay. So, Dan went and got cool.
Yeah. No, he did one with John and I at the Whiskey last year. And so now I see Carlos is on there and he goes, well, who is your favorite band? He's the Doors.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, that's his favorite band. Amazing.
Yeah, that's so cool.
So about 2 years ago, they had this thing up in Seattle. It was like a tribute to the Doors, and the guys from Nirvana were there and stuff. And Carlos and his wife came. His wife is a drummer is his drummer now.
Okay.
And so we got to hang out and talk about guitar and stuff. That was pretty cool.
Oh, that's too fun. Tariq from Newport, United Kingdom. What is your recollection of the infamous Miami concert?
Well, it's hard to remember because after watching the movie, that kind of gets in your head. And did we really do that? Was that, But no, it was, to me, it was just a normal, crazy Doors concert.
Okay.
Jim did not whip it out. He might have, because Ray, he was talking about it. He says, "Do you want to see it? Do you want to see it?" And Ray goes up to Vince, who was our equipment guy. Vince, don't let him do it. Grab him. So Vince was holding on to him. He might have done it if we let him, but he didn't do it. Believe me, that was BS. I mean, obviously, if he had done it, don't you think there would have been a picture of it?
Something.
A million fucking people doing photos. I mean, come on.
Right. Yeah. So
that night after the show, we were upstairs drinking beers with the cops. Nobody was getting arrested. There was no problem. I mean, the show was shit because Jim invited everybody up on the stage at one point. And all these people started getting on the stage, and then the stage collapsed. So the drums were going everywhere, and I said to John, "Let's get out of here, man." And we eat upstairs.
Were a lot of your shows chaos?
Not a lot, but there were quite a few, and I outline them in the book, every one of them.
Was alcohol typically to blame, or anything else?
Not always, not always. You know, the one that was the weirdest one for me was in Cleveland. We were playing this hall. It was about maybe 5,000 people, and they were like a weird audience. They just weren't into it. It seemed like they didn't really clap after the songs. You know, they go,
Sure.
and then finally after we do the end, at the end, very end of the show, it's nothing. They didn't even acknowledge that we had, you know, done anything. And so we kind of left the stage, and then we hear this noise out there, and it was like the whole place was going crazy. They were, you know, I guess they wanted us back, but they got so crazy that they started destroying all the chairs. It was incredible. It was like, and then the cops came, and you know, the whole deal was.
So it's a total mute crowd until you leave, and then now
Yeah.
they're losing their minds wanting you back.
That was the weirdest, one of the weirdest shows ever.
I've heard in sales they call that the takeaway. That's where the salesman finally goes, you know what, the product's not for sale anymore. I've got to go. And then the customer goes, wait, no, I want it. There's
exactly
only one left.
Yeah, they got mad because we were done.
I told a friend to try that. He was dating a girl, and she just was blocking him, not wanting to move forward. They're just casual dating. I said, man, just try the takeaway. He called me a week later and he said, dude, you're brilliant. He was like, this girl's wanting to get married.
It worked.
The takeaway. David from Glasgow, United Kingdom. In a song like Love Me Two Times, did the riff come first, or did it start with the chord progression?
It's definitely the riff. And I actually kind of borrowed that riff from a guy named John Kerner, Spider John Kerner, they called him. And it was actually a record that was produced by Paul Rothschild, who later became our producer. So I was listening to this, I think the record was called The Blues Project. And this was for the band called The Blues Project. I'm sure that's where they got their name. So there was this song in it, and it kind of had that. It wasn't exactly, but it gave me the idea. And then years later, I met Spider John, and I told him, hey, did you notice I took your lick there? And he never even knew.
Oh, man.
So I guess maybe he wasn't a rock and roll guy or something. But
well, we're almost out of time, but Robby, would you entertain 22 questions in 2 minutes? These are just questions about breakfast in your daily life that not too many people would ever ask you, but we think it would be fascinating to learn.
Oh, let's try it.
Are you game? All right.
Okay.
Let's do this. Number one, who would you like to have dinner with, past or present?
Dinner with past or present? Maybe can go as far back as you want, right?
Far back as you want.
Okay. Bartok.
Who is that?
Bartok. He was a classical composer guy.
Nice. What's your favorite breakfast food?
Goat's milk.
Just goat's milk?
Not just. I put it on my cereal.
On cereal.
Yeah, but goat's milk is so good, man, compared to regular milk.
Ooh, man, it's good for you too.
That's right. That's right. In fact, I heard it was Gandhi. Gandhi said, always drink goat's milk in the morning.
Okay. Hey, if it's good enough for Gandhi.
Yeah.
What's your favorite genre of music? I believe we answered that. Blues, jazz, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Who was your idol growing up?
Idol. Well, first it was Mickey Mantle from the Yankees.
Wow.
And then, you know, if you want a musical idol, Elvis.
Oh man, I get moody when I think about Elvis. I love that music. Same kind of haunting vibe, right?
Sure.
What's your favorite candy bar?
Snickers, but I'm trying to quit.
It's a tough one, man. Do you have a favorite season?
Favorite season? Probably spring.
Do you have a favorite childhood memory?
Hunting frogs in the canyon across my house.
Oh man. Do you have a favorite animal?
Frogs? No. Probably my dogs.
I was gonna say probably a little white fluffy one that isn't sure where to go to the bathroom quite yet.
Right. 15 years old.
Do you have any workout routines?
Yeah, I have the Tony Little machine. You know what that is?
No.
I'm sure most of the audience will know. It's like a elliptical type thing, but it's different. It's like, what's good about it is you can get in all different positions and do your workout.
Very cool. What do you never leave home without?
Unfortunately, my phone.
Have you ever ridden in a hot air balloon?
Written about what?
In a hot air balloon.
I was, yeah, I did.
You've probably played guitar in a hot air balloon.
No, but I got to ride in one.
Do you have a favorite teacher? This could be spiritual. This could be from grade school, anything.
Oh. Probably Mrs. Miller from junior high.
Okay.
English teacher.
Who is your favorite author?
Boy.
Besides Robby Krieger.
Oh God, that's a tough one. Gosh, I can't think of it. I'm sorry.
Hey, no worries. You can always post it later, right? You have social media.
Yeah, okay, I'll do that.
Well, friends, ladies and gentlemen, that is all the time we have. To order Robby Krieger's limited edition autographed book, go to premiercollectibles.com/fire. And whether you're a collector or lover of books, Premier Collectibles has the best-selling author signed books that everyone wants. If you want to be a part of the live signing experience with more of your favorite authors, follow Premier Collectibles on Instagram or Facebook. And Robby, from all of your friends who've tuned in, from all of us at Premier Collectibles, thank you so much for being here. I'm looking forward to finishing this book. It is plenty big and it has so many golden stories and beautiful things you've written. Thanks so much for this.
Thank you, and I do appreciate it.
Yeah, this was great. And bye, everybody.
Fun. That was fun.
Hey, this is John Acuff, New York Times best-selling author of 7 books and someone who's done a live signing. If you like the one you just watched, make sure you check out our YouTube channel. It's full of amazing authors having great conversations and signing books for viewers just like you. So make sure you subscribe, and thanks for watching today.